Now we're going to get to the special characters. And there's a good number of them. So the first one we're going to talk about is the leader of the Dark Elves. You got Malekith. Now, he has, I've seen him for a couple of different editions now, and he is still the badass that he always has been. Now, the big thing to look at him is that he's a level 4, has to take his spells from the lore of dark magic, which isn't a bad thing. He has a few options for mounts. He can either be on foot, on a cold one chariot, or it can be on the Black Dragon. We'll talk about which is my favorite after when we talk about whether I think he's worthwhile or not. But some of the other things that he has going for him is, of course, because he's a wizard, he'll have +1, so he basically acts as like a level 5 when he's going to be casting his spells. He is going to be causing fear. He's the only toughness 4 elf you're going to see, so that's pretty nice as well. He has absolute power. Now, what this does is that he's already leadership 10, which is great, but he is kind of like Gorbad, where his range goes out, 18 inches, 24 if he is mounted on the dragon, or I guess also like Karl Franz. So that's pretty damn good, except for the fact that they're already in an army that has pretty good leadership. When you have that Orcs and Goblins, that's pretty good. Or even Empire, we have a little bit lower. But when you're talking about Elves, it's not all that great. Now, he has the Destroyer, which is pretty awesome, and it's basically a weapon that's going to be destroying. Well, first of all, if you're in base-to-base with an enemy character, basically, at the start of the magic phase, they have to tell you all the gear they have. So, being that it's the start of the combat, you can kind of say, like, geez, do I want to challenge this guy or not? Should I take it with the unit champ? And it lets you know these things beforehand. There'll be no surprises, assuming it's a closed list. Also, if you score 1 or more hit on a person with a magic item, on a 4+, one of them is randomly destroyed. Now, this is also really good because it goes in where he has this Armor of Midnight. It's a 5+ armor, which is but the big thing is that he has a 2+ ward against all non-magical attacks. He also can't really be killed by anything that has like killing blow or multiple wounds, because he'll only just do 1 wound. But the big synergy there is that if you are striking first with him and then destroying the magical weapon of whoever you're in a challenge with, well, now you have a 2+ ward against him. Now, you can't really depend on that because, like I said, regardless of the number of hits, you're only destroying it on a 4+, so it's a 50-50 coin toss. But hey, I mean, having that chance of having a 2+ ward against the character, or the other thing too is when you go into that challenge, you'll know if they have a magic weapon, right? Maybe they're just set up to be defensively. Well, then you're just, you're aces, because you can be destroying that magic defense. He's not going to be killing you. You're going to be just fine. Now, he also has Supreme Spell Shield, which gives him magic resistance too. And also, if anything's ever cast on him and you dispel it, well, then the source, the caster, the caster's unit, is going to take D6 strength 6 hits. So, of course, one of the ways that characters can die is death sniping. So, if anybody does some death snipes to him, first of all, he has some magic resistance that will help him out. You're going to be having the good bonus to trying to stop it. And if you ever stop it, it'll be having attacks going back. So it really makes your opponent say, like, man, do I really want to shoot his stuff? And especially if they ever have a character that's outside of a unit, it'll just be suicide because you stop it. That caster takes a D6 strength 6. And yeah, it's a lot of trouble. I mean, hell, even if it's a bunker, right? If there's a bunker of 10 guys, all of a sudden that thing's starting to take panic tests. You could kill enough after a couple that, all of a sudden he's not getting lookout sirs. It's really risky business. So it almost makes him kind of pseudo-immune to death magic just because of the fact that they don't really want to go after him. So there's that. He also has a Circle of Iron, which is pretty nice, where once per magic phase, he can add 1 more dice to a failed cast or a failed dispel. So that's also really nice. What's not really nice is he is a lot of points. He is a little over 500 points, and that is a lot. I mean, it really have to look at how you're going to be using this guy. If you're using him for a level 4, well, a level 4 is not that many points. It's just a little over 200 points. Now, if you're using him for character killing and kind of stuff like that, again, you can make a character killer that is pretty damn good and is not going to come anywhere close to that. Where I think Malekith might come in is I would never put him on a dragon. I mean, sure, a lot of the cannonballs he'll have a 2+ ward against. The real risk you run sometimes being Malekith is that he has a 2+ ward against these like war machines coming at him, but it's going to kill the dragon. And once you kill the dragon, then he's going to take the shots. And if simple bow fire can start being a real risk to this guy, because even you have a 2+ ward, he only has so many wounds, and I've killed him before with my wood elves, where I just keep shooting arrows into him because I know they're going to fail eventually. It's not a super good chance, but hey, when this guy on a dragon is going to be so many points, it's just ridiculous. But I mean, really looking at that, you're not going to run him on a dragon anyway, because that's so many points. It'd have to be a really big game. You could run him. I think a chariot's is silly. You're never going to do that. You could do him on a cold one. All of a sudden, then he has a good armor save as well. But then the unit is probably going to be the real Achilles heel to him. Because, of course, if somebody hits the unit with some lore metal magic or war machines or whatever, charge in there, he can break, right? He's pretty damn good, but he's not going to stop you from breaking. Break the unit, run him down, lots of points. I see him being used the most being on foot. So he's in a good-sized unit, be it Blackguard or whatever. And then that way, you're going to be stubborn. You're not going to break from anywhere. You're going to be very killy, so you'll probably be fine. Steadfast, maybe, all that. And the real thing you're going to be using him as is if you already have, obviously a level 4, and then you're also taking another character that's going to be your real combat heavy guy, really killy thing. I'm going to go out there and try and kill the other characters. You know what? Especially if you're going for point denial, you may want to take Malekith. I really think on foot he has some game where you could say, hey, this is my level 4. I'm super killy. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to mix it up. I can really see that. So I wouldn't take the other versions. I mean, the dragon has some merit to it. However, it's so many points you can't fit into a regular tournament anyway. So it's not really worth even talking about. So that's Malekith. He's a maybe if you're already taking all those points and lords already. If you're just going with a regular level 4 normally, I would really second guess or question yourself again whether you want to do that. Now, next comes up his mother, Morathi, and I gotta tell you right away, I'm not that big of a fan. Going over the rules first before we condemn her, she is going to be a level 4, and the cool thing about her is that she gets to pick her spells from what lore. So she has access to the lore of death, shadow, and dark magic, and that she can basically split up where she's going to be randomly taking her spells from which lore. So with that, you can really use her for, okay, I'm up against this opponent, I'm up against this opponent, this scenario, these are the spells I'm going to need to really go for. So that is really nice. On top of that as well, she has some kind of silly things where, she has Enchanting Beauty, so people have to take a leadership, friend or foe, if they're in base-to-base in combat. Otherwise, they're -5 weapon skill. Okay, whatever. I mean, you probably don't want to get into combat anyway. But she also gets plus D3 to her casting. So that's pretty nice. I mean, it almost makes her so that she's a level, somewhere between a 5 and an 8, or sorry, 7 rather. So that's pretty good, especially when you think of, it's on top of the dark magic with that blessing. So it's going to be D3 plus 1 if you're going with the dark elf lore. So that part's nice. She also has a 4+ ward, magic resistance 2. That stuff's nice too. Again, pretty much immune to death magic between the ward and the magic resistance. And then she also has some magic weapons where, she has it's a paired weapon, so +1 attack. She has killing blow. They're done on +2 strength when she charges. And if you wound guys, you reduce their attacks and strength and toughness by 1 and all these things. But here's the killer. She has to be on a Pegasus. And to me, that's just her asking to die. You're not going to be killing her with magic because of the magic resistance and the ward. But, a cannon. Sure, she has a 4+ ward, but half the time it's going to go through, and if you roll at least 3 wounds, bam, you're going to crank her. I mean, sure, you have the one spell from the dark lore where basically you can be getting wounds back, but man, if you're caught where you're not with lots of wounds, she can go down quick. I mean, hell, even just a bow fire, she can go down quick. So I'm really not a fan of her, would not take her, and she's also a good amount of points. And I'd just rather take a regular level 4, keep it safe in a unit, and keep on going from there. Next, you have Hellbrun. And at first glance, she doesn't seem that crazy, right? Okay, she's just a regular person with 4 attacks, and yeah, she's a Witch Elf Lord. Then you start putting it all together, and she has a lot more than 4 attacks. She has paired weapons, so that's going to be making it so that she has 5 attacks. She has Frenzy, which is now going to 6 attacks, sorry. Now, she also has all the different gifts of Cain. So this means that she's going to be having it so that she causes fear. The opponent has to take the test at -3. She also has the special frenzy so that she is going to be adding +1 attack to all those who already have frenzy. So now she's up to 7 attacks. Plus she gets an extra D3 attacks. So she's running between 8 and 10 attacks. And these are at strength 10. So she is an absolute monster. She's going to have 8 to 10 attacks that are going to be hitting basically on a 3+ rerolled, wounding on a 2+, rerolling those ones because of the new murderous prowess, and she's going to do a hell of damage. As well, whenever somebody targets spells at her unit, you're at +4 to dispel, so that's pretty damn awesome. And then pretty much on top of that, the only thing you have to really worry about is that she has basically no armor. She's basically naked. So that is her really big negative. The one thing you can say is hopefully, just like the regular Witch Elves, you can be running her and say, you know, I'll have her in her corner, so there's only so much you can attack me. Hopefully between fear or regular weapon skill, you're only hitting me on 5s. I do have 3 wounds, you know, so hopefully you can't get enough stuff on me. But yeah, she is a pretty damn good killer. Now, she also isn't that many points. When you look at her, you know, she's a little over 300 points, and that's not bad for all the killing power you're getting, plus she also has synergy with her own unit. So, of course, if you're already taking a horde of the Witch Elves, I would say this is definitely something you want to look into, because she's getting a bonus to them. They're all getting +1 attack, and, you know, she is just... who's going to survive, you know, a potential 10 strength, 10 attacks? You know, this is going to kill whatever character, and it's almost a thing where when you're going into these combats, she is going to be winning combat all by herself. She is killing monsters. She basically kills anything. The real weakness of her is that if she has no good targets, and they're just going to be directing all their attacks against her, like basically charging into Lizardman Spearman, right? Something like that that won't be hitting her normally on a 5+, you know, weapon skill 4 at least. She has good leadership, so shouldn't fail the fear test, and then just keep on putting attacks on her and kill her that way. That's her worst case scenario. Now, you do have an option here to put her on the Cauldron of Blood. Do not do that. All that basically does is makes her a target and makes it so that more attacks can go on to her. And I mean, sure, you get a ward save. It just isn't worth it. Don't do it. But otherwise, taking her on foot, if you're already having the horde there, you know what? I could see that. That could definitely be something you could do there. So definitely a possibility. Next one we come up here is Malice Darkblade. Now, he's become a Lord now, so he's +1 wound from what he was before, so that's kind of cool. And basically what he is he's a guy that's on top of a cold one. The cold one does not suffer from stupidity, and if he's put in a unit with other cold ones, they don't have to roll for stupidity. That's, to be honest, fairly minor, because, I mean, you're looking at leadership 10 stupidity, probably with a reroll, but whatever. It's a nice little bonus to have. He also has it so basically he can go and pop this potion and become a demon. But the whole demon thing isn't that strong anymore. You increase his weapon skill, strength, and toughness and initiative by 1, which is nice. And then he also gets to reroll all of his 2 wounds. This will be making him strength 5. And then no armor saves can be taken against these attacks. That's pretty decent. The bad thing is that for every rolls of 1 that he makes, he's going to be hitting a friendly guy. That's not so good, especially because you're probably running him with your Cold One Knights, so ignoring armor saves, yeah, that's not a good thing to be happening against them there. the big thing I see with him is that he's not bad. Looking at it, it's just, okay, that's a decent Lord. With that mix, that's pretty good. The problem is that you have to see, like, what could I make with a Dreadlord? If I took a Dreadlord, and by the way, with his Sea Cloak and stuff, he has a natural 1+ save. I can do the same thing with the Dreadlord, give him the heavy armor, the Sea Cloak, put him on a cold one, get that 1+ save, and then give him a great weapon. Now, I'm not going to be ignoring armor saves, and I'm not going to be rerolling all to wounds. However, at strength 6, I'm going to be taking almost away all of your armor save, and then I'm probably at the point where I'm wounding on 2s, so I reroll my 1s anyway, so that pretty much works out the same. Sure, I'm not stopping stupidity, which is a minor thing, but hey, on a 1, I'm not hitting my friends, which is a much bigger deal. So really, when you compare it that way, he just isn't really worth the points. And I mean, he's a cool model. I would just take the model and use it as a regular Dreadlord with that build I just talked about there. And then, hey, you can also add in other stuff there too, right? Because that was using no magic allowance whatsoever. This then, to make up the points, you could be making him way better. Now we come up to Shadowblade. Now, Shadowblade, man, I love the model. I know there's people who don't like it. I think he looks really cool. And for those who don't know, in the last book, he was very dangerous because whereas regular assassins can jump out of your own units, Shadowblade could jump out of enemy units. So there's a chance where you could find him and all these things, but basically it's like, oh yeah, you're Orcs and Goblins and you need that war boss, I pop out, I kill him. Like basically if you don't have a unit champ to try and accept it, you're in a lot of trouble. And there's a lot of tricks you can do, but let's not talk about the past, let's talk about the present. Now, what Shadowblade is basically a super assassin. He's weapon skill 10, blood skill 10, initiative 10. Basically, he's hitting on a 3+ for everything. He has all the gifts for the assassins. So he has, the killing blow, +1 to wound. If you wound something, then you have a -1 attack or whatever. Okay, that's pretty good to have all that stuff. He has a 5+ ward. He's the Master of Disguise, and what that one does now is that basically you don't need to dedicate what unit he's in. You can change your mind for every turn. So if, normally you would have to write down my assassin is here. Well, if their characters all of a sudden went the other way, you're kind of now not in the right spot. Darkblade can be saying, okay, I'm over there now. That's fairly nice. He also has some things so that we could pop a potion, be +4 strength. That's pretty cool. He also has his Heart of Woe, so if you ever destroy him, you put a large blaster and as a POW, not a POW, strength 3 to everyone underneath. That's also okay, but then again, that's planning on him dying, which isn't always a good thing. And the other part with Darkblade as well is that he's a good amount of points. We have to go over, he's a hero choice now, so I'm going to have to go to the next one. And yeah, he's pretty much halfway between 200 and 300 points. So that's a lot when you consider that for the same points, you can get 2.5 regular assassins. And sure, a 5+ ward is nice, but I mean, the regular assassins have the option of getting, the 2+ armor save. They have the option of taking the potion of strength anyway, right? So really, now that you take away the advantage of going into the enemy unit and just say he can be in 2 different places, I would just say take 2 different assassins. Build the assassin where they each have the extra hand weapon. You can give one a potion of strength, give the other guy whatever else, something cool, and give them the killing blow. That's going to be the way that I go instead of just the one guy. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. He is pretty cool. I wish there was some theme army where you could make like an army of assassins or whatever, kind of like how you can basically do with Skaven. But yeah, unfortunately, he's not the cool guy he used to be. Now we get to Lockyer Fellheart. Now he's a little squid man, and he has some neat things. He has the Show No Weakness, so that's the one where if you're in a challenge and wasn't killed, basically, then your unit's unbreakable. He has his Daring Leap, so that, unless he's in a challenge, he can leap to wherever he needs to be. So if things get lined up and, you want to kill the guy over there, but you can't challenge, you'll just take it with the unit champ, you just leap over there, and now you're going to be in base to base anyway. One other cool thing is that he also causes terror because of his mask. He also has some more leadership shenanigans, because if you ever break a unit, then anyone who's taking a panic test because of that is at -1. That's something. It's pretty nice. He also has his special blades, gives him basically +1 attack, and then he's going to be re-rolling his to wound rolls. Okay, that's all right. And then he also gets regeneration as well. And his armor save goes up 1 higher. But yeah, the main thing here when you look at this guy, I just can't really see it. I mean, he has a lot of leadership shenanigans, but you know, the way that the game is now, where you're using the general's leadership and you're getting to re-roll and stuff, it's just not really going to do it. I mean, if you work it with your magic so that a unit is not going to be getting that general or the BSB, and then you're going to be using him and stuff, but at the same time, you could be playing the Mask of E on anyone, so that part's kind of It's just really, you know, and the whole thing of the show no weakness, he should be in a unit that's either winning combat or, you know, at least should not be breaking anyway. So being unbreakable is not that big of a deal. It's just when you look at him, it's just a little bit of leadership shenanigans, which you can reproduce on somebody else. I mean, not the whole leadership bomb at -1 when you break a unit, but that's very situational and probably isn't going to do anything anyway. So overall, not really too impressed with him. I just make a regular dude for extra combat power. Now we come to Koran Darkhand. He's a captain of the Blackguard, and he's pretty interesting. First thing he does is make his unit of Blackguard unbreakable as opposed to stubborn. Whatever. I'm not that big of a fan of that. Normally, leadership 9 or 10 reroll will be enough for stubborn. He has a Crimson Death. Now, this is one where he's at +2 strength, so that's going to make him strength 6. And then he has an armor that every time he gets hit, the person that hit him, it gets struck with a strength 5 hit. And that's pretty good. He also is weapon skill 9, something I didn't really expect him to have. My glasses keep falling off. Now, at first when I saw him, I didn't know about it with the points, because he's a little under the 200 point mark there. But really, if you look at it, he's not too bad of a character killer. No, because what he's going to do is he's going to get in there, he's going to strike first, he's going to be hitting on 3+ rerolls, having all these strength 6 attacks, and then at the same time there, if he fails the job, if they go and attack him, you know, for every hit they get, it's a strength 5 back. I almost wish he didn't have leadership 9, or weapon skill 9 rather, so they got hit more. You know, I'd rather be like, oh geez, I don't know, but the big thing there is that it's almost like we have the second chance, or okay, if I didn't finish you, okay, if you hit me back, these things are going to be going on to you. So, you know, for that part there, for the build that you have, it's not too bad. I mean, if you try building something, a regular, well, at this point, I mean, remember he's in Heroes, but you can be then basically trying to take a Dreadlord and making a killy build. And I really think if you just take a Dreadlord with a great weapon, and or maybe something where you regain more attacks, you know, pretty much for the same points, I think he can be doing a better job. So he is kind of neat. He is kind of interesting. I really don't give a lot of credence to making a unit unbreakable as opposed to stubborn. You know, that's not that big of a deal. So overall, if you want a character killer, I think if you have Lord room left, he's a pretty good, or it would be better just to build it yourself as opposed to taking him. I suppose if your Lord's already filled out and you want a character killer, he's a pretty weak one, but he could work. Again, I'd probably just take Assassins. So I'm not really a big fan of him. Next is Talaris, Dreadbringer, and he's basically the guy that's the Executioner Lord. His cool thing that he does is that he and his unit, and it doesn't say that it has to be executioners, gets the frenzy rule. So all of a sudden, that's some pretty good synergy where whatever unit you put him with is going to be getting the +1 attack. Sure, there's the negatives with frenzy, but then as well, you're also could also double that up with your spells and stuff, which if you already have frenzy, you get +1. So that's kind of an interesting thing there already. He also has it so that he has basically a magic great weapon that killing blows on a 5 or a 6. So again, it seems like he's kind of a character killer. You know, if he's going first and getting 4 attacks that are going to be probably 3+ rerolled or 4+ rerolled, and then 2+ reroll ones, and of course if any of those ones are a 5 or a 6, you get killing blow. He does a pretty good of doing that character killing as well as giving frenzy to the whole unit. So given that, especially if you have a good unit to put him in, whether you already have a horde of the executioners or a horde of the blackguard or something like that where it's really worth to give them the frenzy, I would say he's a really good take to go with. If you don't have something like that, if you are going for a more shooty army and you just want somebody there to be a character killer, again, I just build something out of either an assassin or from a regular dreadlord or something like that, who will probably do a better job for the points. And that's really the special characters. So really looking over them all, probably the best thing I can say is it's almost like the summary for the book in a whole, where you know what, they seem for the most part very balanced. There's nobody in here that was like, he's amazing, take this guy. I think the closest one that comes to me just saying amazing is going to be a Hellbrun, where, you know, when you got those 8 to 10 strength 10 attacks, that's crazy. But she does have, of course, that whole limitation where, you know, if she's fighting regular dudes, she'll go down because she's just wearing a thong, and she'll be giving up a good amount of points. So there's still that, like, hidden weakness, you know, all the way across. There's a few ones in here that I said are just pretty much don't take. But for the most part, hey, you know, if you want to play fluff stuff, why not take Morathi and stuff like this, right? And it's good to see that some things like Malekith actually have some uses, right? You know, if you're doing the whole victory point denial and trying to combine and all that stuff. So overall, I like what I saw from the special characters. Nothing's too crazy. It would have been nicer if more of them would have been at that point where it's like, you know what, yeah, I like that. This is like, it's even. But unfortunately, for the most part, they were just like a step down. And maybe that's what special characters should be. Something where, hey, if you want special, you're going to take like this 10% decrease in effectiveness. So there you have it, and thanks for watching. If you have anything else you want me to cover with the Dark Elves, please post it down below. Otherwise, I'll be on to something different next time. So see you then. Bye.